Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we take the jargon out of financial filings and tell you what's really going on. And folks, today we've got a filing that's less about big numbers and more about, well, timing and getting your ducks in a row for a shareholder meeting. Looks like GameSquare Holdings is sending out an update, so let's decode this Form 8K and see what it's all about. Before we dive in, if you love getting these clear, no-nonsense explanations of what companies are up to, make sure you're subscribed. And hey, we've got a fantastic community over on Discord sharing insights, so join us there. The link is in the description. So what's the big deal here? GameSquare Holdings is filing what's called a Form 8K. Think of this as a current report. It's for reporting really important stuff that happens between their regular quarterly and annual filings. It's like a company saying, hey, something significant just happened, you need to know. The date on this report is August 27, 2025. This tells us that the information we're about to read or the event it's reporting happened on or before this date. The company in question is GameSquare Holdings, Inc. Now, if you are not familiar with them, they're involved in the gaming and esports world. Think about the teams, the content creation, the marketing, that's their playground. Here we see some basic company information, like where they're incorporated Delaware, their filing number with the SEC, which is 001399389, and their employer identification number 9919464435. This is standard stuff for any publicly traded company. This tells us their main headquarters address is in Frisco, Texas. For those following the sports world, Frisco is a pretty big hub for sports and entertainment. Now, this little checkbox tells us something important about how they're treated by the SEC. GameSquare is calling itself an emerging growth company. This means they get to follow some slightly less strict rules for reporting new accounting standards. It's a way larger companies can transition into public life a bit more easily. Alright, this is the core of this filing. Item 508 is all about shareholder director nominations. But it's not about nominating directors right now. It's more about the rules and deadlines for how and when shareholders can nominate directors, and also how they can propose things to be voted on at the company's shareholder meetings. Here's the key information. GameSquare's annual shareholder meeting for 2025, which they're calling the 2020-25. Now, this is the really crucial part. Usually companies hold their annual meetings around the same time each year, but it looks like the 2025 meeting is happening more than 30 days earlier than the anniversary of their 2024 meeting. When a company shifts its annual meeting date forward by more than 30 days, they have to let their shareholders know. This filing is doing exactly that. They're giving everyone a heads up that the schedule has changed significantly. They're also telling us that the specific details, like the exact time and where the meeting will be held, will be in their official proxy statement, which you get before a shareholder meeting. Think of the proxy statement as the official invitation and information pack for the meeting. Because they moved the meeting up, any deadlines for shareholders to submit proposals or nominate directors for that meeting, which were previously set based on the old schedule, are now invalid. They're essentially wiping the slate clean for those deadlines. So what are the new deadlines? For any shareholder proposal that they want to include in the official proxy documents to be sent out before the meeting, it needs to be received by the company's officers by September 10, 2025. This is a deadline that's about a month before the meeting, and they've set it to give themselves enough time to actually prepare and print all those fancy proxy materials. Remember, this is for proposals that follow a specific SEC rule. Rule 14A8, which is the rule for proposals that follow a specific SEC rule. Rule 14A8, which is the rule for proposals that the company agrees to put in their own shareholder information. Now, there's another set of rules separate from SEC Rule 14A8. These rules are found in the company's own internal rulebook called bylaws. Because the meeting date has changed so much, any proposals or director nominations submitted directly under these bylaws, not necessarily for inclusion in the company's proxy statement, but to be considered directly, have a different deadline. This deadline is much tighter. It's the close of business on the 10th day before the actual meeting date. So to put that into plain English, for anything you want to propose or nominate, as long as it follows the company's internal bylaws, you have until September 27, 2025 to get it to them. That's just 10 days before the October 7th meeting. This is a much shorter window for things that aren't necessarily going into the main proxy mailing. It's important to understand the difference between submitting a proposal for the proxy materials and submitting one under the bylaws, as the deadlines and requirements can vary. They're reminding shareholders where to send these proposals and nominations to the company secretary at that Frisco, Texas address. and they're really emphasizing that whoever submits something needs to follow all the SEC rules and the company's own bylaws. To avoid any arguments about whether they received something on time or if it was properly submitted, they're strongly suggesting using certified mail with a return receipt requested. This is basically asking for proof of delivery, which is smart for both the company and the shareholder. Now we get to the signatures. This is where the company officially signs off on the report. The report is dated August 27, 2025, and it's signed by Justin Kenner. Justin Kenner is the Chief Executive Officer and a Director of GameSquare Holdings. His signature here means he's confirming that everything in this report is accurate to the best of his knowledge, as required by the law. Okay, so what's the big picture here? This filing is essentially a procedural update. GameSquare is moving its annual shareholder meeting forward quite a bit and is making sure everyone knows about the new deadlines for submitting proposals and director nominations. There aren't any financial numbers or major business developments reported here, just important information about how shareholders can participate in the upcoming meeting. Now, let's think about why a company might move its annual meeting date like this. Sometimes it's done to align with strategic initiatives, or maybe to get shareholder votes on certain matters earlier in the year. For GameSquare, which operates in the dynamic esports and gaming industry, having an early meeting might allow them to get shareholder approval for plans or strategies before the peak of the competitive season or before major industry events. It could also just be a logistical decision, perhaps to avoid conflicts with other major industry gatherings or to take advantage of a specific time for certain announcements. From a shareholder's perspective, it's crucial to be aware of these shifted deadlines. Missing the window to submit a proposal or nomination means you forfeit your chance to have your voice heard directly at the meeting or in the company's official materials for that year. So if you're a GameSquare shareholder with ideas or concerns you want to raise, mark those September dates on your calendar. September 10th for proxy inclusion and September 27th for bylaw proposals. This filing signals that GameSquare is preparing for its annual meeting and is being transparent about the process for shareholder engagement. While there are no financials in this particular report to analyse, the effective management of these shareholder processes is important for corporate governance. Good governance builds trust, and trust is essential for a company's long-term success, especially in a fast-paced industry like gaming. So to wrap up, GameSquare Holdings has informed us that their 2025 annual shareholder meeting is on October 7th, much earlier than usual. They've updated the deadlines for shareholder proposals and director nominations to September 10th and September 27th, respectively. This is a straightforward but important note for company's direction. What's your take on these updated timelines for GameSquare? Do you think moving the meeting earlier is a smart move? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, and subscribe for more easy to understand corporate insights. And don't forget to check out our Discord community for even more in-depth discussions and to connect with fellow watchers. Thanks for tuning in to Corporate Coda. See you next time.